another topic, and you know, if you, I don't recommend this to anyone, but if you go in a lot of garden groups on Facebook and you want to have arguments about something, this is a good one, because people seem to love to argue. If you want to waste a lot of time, argue with people on Facebook. When I started doing this, you know, being a garden personality, I used to engage in this, and I don't know if my viewers have noticed this, but I don't show up anywhere arguing with anyone anymore, because I got better things to do with my life. You know, if I see a conversation going on and I think, well, that's an odd conversation, I might come up with a video. It might inspire a video to talk about that. But anyway, one of these things that tends to come up is there a net effect? So you've got a bean, let's use the bean analogy, okay? And is there a net effect of, if I've got some soil and let's say it's a little bit low in nitrogen, so I grow beans, and then at the end of the season, I don't pull the beans out of the ground, I just cut the stalks off and leave them in the ground to rot. As the end of the season and going in, so let's say the following spring now, you know, is that soil gonna have a net gain in nitrogen because I've left the roots in the ground? So like one of my recurring guests, Robert Pavlos, said that the bean is producing the nitrogen it needs, and so it's gonna use it all. And then I argued that, well, a lot of beans, they produce beans until the frost kills them. So to my mind, they stop making beans before they're done making beans, which means there must be more, you know, some nitrogen, that they didn't use up.
Yep. And I think if you cut the tops off, took the tops away, put them in a compost pile, and just left the roots there, from beans or peas, probably not a big net effect.
Really?
There'll be some. There'll be a little bit, but not a big net effect.
If you cut the tops off and left them.
If you cut the tops off when they're nice and green and lush.
Yeah.
And leave them there.
Shred them up and throw them back down, sort of thing.
Well, you don't even have to shred them up. We've got shredders that'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah. We've got the livestock that'll do that for us, so we don't have to do a lot of chopping.
That's true. If you leave them on the ground, they'll be crawling with snails.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, or the earthworms will take all the leaves and pull them down their burrows.
Yeah.
But you know, because a bean plant or a pea plant, Robert's right. They're very good at meeting their needs. They'll pull that up into the top part of the plant.
Right.
You know, in a farming perspective, we grow soybeans, and soybeans we grow until they're fully mature. And
fully mature, yeah. Like you're not picking snap soybeans; you're picking beans.
We're picking dry beans. The plant has completed its life cycle. It is mature.
Yes.
A soybean plant is very effective of taking all the nitrogen it's fixed and putting it into the bean seed.
I see. Yeah.
So there's almost no net effect from a soybean plant or
any dried bean.
Any dry bean.
Yeah. That makes sense.
If you have the green stuff, if you kill it when it's immature, then you'll have a net effect.
Right.
And if you have a perennial legume, so if you say, I'm going to plant clover, I'm going to plant alfalfa.
Right.
They're conditioned to keep fixing nitrogen.
Right.
They're saying, okay, we're not going to die. We don't have an annual life cycle. We don't go through and move all of that nitrogen into a particular plant part and stop feeding the roots. We're going to stay alive. So we keep pumping sugars down into the roots and keep feeding the nodules.
Right.
So if you want a big net effect, you plant clover.
I see. Now, let's take that to its natural extension. If we got clover in the ground, if they're perpetually increasing the nitrogen content in the soil, are they going to toxify the soil with too much nitrogen? Like the way, like if you had have you ever seen a part of a forest where blue heron roost, right? They just denude the entire area, right? If anyone's ever seen this, these creepy little forests where blue herons live, and
everything's dead. That becomes self-regulating.
Becomes self-regulating.
Yeah, and let's see, plants are lazy.
Right.
So if they've got enough nitrogen, they're going to stop sending as much sugar to the nodules.
I see. Right. And I would imagine that once that nitrogen content was up to a certain amount, other, field plants would be inclined to move in a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah.
things like that start, sort of living with the clover, and it's not.
Well, yeah, it's an interesting observation. Either in a pasture field where you've got grasses and clover, or even in a lawn where somebody seeds some white clover into the lawn.
Yeah.
And you'll see, you plant the clover, and if the lawn hasn't been heavily fertilized, the clover will grow like gangbusters.
Yes.
And it'll almost choke out the grass. And then the grass will take advantage of the nitrogen the clover is producing, and the grass will come up, and it will almost choke out the clover.
Right.
And then when the clover gets thin enough, the grass starts to die down, the clover comes back up again. So you get this alternating back and forth between clover and grass.
Right, yeah. So it's